A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Khmer Times Cross Talk. While you are having your morning coffee, today in our studio we have with us a very special guest, Mr. Oleksandr Gaman.
Good morning,
sir. Yeah.
Good morning.
He is a Ukrainian ambassador to Vietnam and soon to be the ambassador of Ukraine in Cambodia. So, ladies and gentlemen, it has in a few days. In a few days' time, we're going to have the first anniversary of Russia military operation in Ukraine, and this is the topic that we're going to cover today for our cross talk. So, first question first. 24th February, it will be exactly 1 year after the Russia invasion of Ukraine. So, for you, how are you going to commemorate this, to do anything about this?
Yes, on the 24th of February we will be marking the one anniversary of full-scale aggression against Ukraine. At that time, on the 24th February 2022, I and my wife were in Kiev. We have heard all these very first explosions very close to Kiev, because, as you know, they have started to bombarding first of all airports, and international airport of Boryspil is located very close to our apartment where do we live in Kiev. Since that time, we prove the whole world, we prove to ourselves that we know how to fight, we know how to win this war. And as my minister once said, we will win this war, for sure.
Okay, nice. But 1 year, in 365 days, I mean, for foreigner like us, it could be a bit quick. It's just a blink of an eye, it's 1 year. But I'm sure to Ukrainians who are facing the atrocities, the violence, it could be, much longer to them. So, do you see the end in there? Do you see any negotiation, ceasefire, or anything?
From Russian side, from actually propagandists from Russian side, we heard a lot of times that they were ready to start the negotiations. And as you remember, in the beginning of the war, a few rounds of negotiations were conducted. But what we heard from them, only ultimatums, nothing else. All they want from us, just to capitulate. We cannot accept that.
Obviously, yes.
And during this year of war, we proved that we know how to defeat this so-called second army of the world.
Okay.
As of now, we already liberated almost half of Ukrainian territory, which was previously captured by the Russians, and we will be doing so.
Yes, and how do you picture the end of it? I mean, is it going to be in negotiation? Is it going to be, just from the open perspective, okay? Is it going to be in negotiation? Is it going to be in Ukrainian victory or anything? What is the offer? Supposing that we are doing a negotiation, so what is the offer that Ukraine put on the line?
I already answered the question about negotiations. So we'll be ready to negotiate when they will withdraw their troops from Ukrainian territory, including Crimea and Ukrainian Donbass.
That's the only condition.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so it could be painful when you talk about this during a war, but people want to know about this. How about the casualties of war in Ukraine alone? So, do you have any statistic on that?
Yep. Since the beginning of the war, we lost more than 10,000 civilians.
10,000?
More than
10,000 civilians?
Yep, but these are statistics only from the territory which is under control of Ukraine. God knows what is happening on the occupied territories. I mean, Donbass, Mariupol. According to the mayor of Mariupol, more than 20,000 civilians died only in this city. But we cannot get the real information, what is really happening there. So all this we will find out only when we will deoccupy Mariupol.
So this number does not include the military. It's just the civilians.
Exactly. Besides that, more than 70,000 of civilian buildings are destroyed, totally destroyed. 50% of Ukrainian energy infrastructure also destroyed. So during the time when the winter is in Ukraine, it's very difficult to survive for Ukrainians because there is no heating, water, communication.
So how I really want to know about this. How Ukraine, the Ukrainians have been coping with all this? I mean, in Ukraine, how have they been doing?
It's very difficult situation, but months ago I visited Ukraine. I saw these people. They don't want to live with Russians. They are ready to live without heating, water, communications, but we don't want to live with Russians. It's not for us.
Okay. So it sounds like a very great, brave people. Thank you very much, sir. So far, I'm sure you read on the news. You see that the Ukraine government have received aid from NATO, from the U.S., billions of dollars. So how have you been using all of this, to fight against the Russian invasion?
Yeah, when the war has started, we didn't have strong support from our Western partners. Only after 2, maybe 3 weeks, in March, I guess, our Western allies understood what was really happening in Ukraine, because everyone in the world has seen these huge atrocities committed by Russian occupants, and only then they started to supply heavy weapons to Ukraine. But also, I'd like to say that no one in the world didn't want to supply, for example, tanks, but now we are receiving them. Next step, I hope, very soon we will get fighter jets as well.
Yeah.
But all of that, it's not a weapon to invade anyone in the world or any of our neighbors.
Yeah.
All this weaponry will be used only to defend ourselves.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Again, we are very sorry about what has been happening in your country, but we also glad that you have received the much-deserved aid to dominate to fight off against this problem. But at the same time, there are some people out there who kind of see it as an unbalanced act, an act of unbalance. When Ukraine have during this atrocity received a lot of aids, while some countries which face similar situation, particularly Myanmar. I actually a few months ago I talked to the acting president of the NUG, and I quote exactly. He said, if his scope had received a fraction of what Ukraine has received, they would be able to release the country from the hunter. So what can you say about this perspective?
As I said, we are using this weapon only to defend ourselves, the first issue.
Yeah.
The second issue, I have a better example, and I would like to draw a parallel to the World War II. You remember when Stalin and Hitler divided Poland first in 1939. Then Hitler, one by one, captured in other European countries, like France, Austria, Sweden. And at that time, in the beginning of the World War II, Western partners didn't want to support these smaller countries which were captured by Hitler. And only when they realized that Hitler is a big threat for the whole world, they decided to support them. Same situation in Ukraine. In the beginning of this war against Ukraine, as well, our Western allies wasn't ready to support us so strongly and didn't want to supply heavy weapons. But then, when they understood that Russia is a huge threat, not only for Ukraine, but for the whole Europe, for the whole world, they started to help us.
Yes. So, of course, we are speaking about weapons here. You mentioned it, yes, you mentioned that you are not going to use it for invasion or anything, just for defending your country and your people. But when you receive the aid, when your country receives the aid, is there any condition attached with the aid? Are you fully accountable for using them?
We are in touch with all the donors of military aid to Ukraine. We are ready to, and actually we are providing all the reports, how do we use this weapon and where it is. So there is not an issue.
Yeah. Speaking of the people, is there like a refugee situation in Ukraine right now? I mean, of course you need the man to fight, but how about the women, those who cannot fight? So are there like is there like a refugee situation in Ukraine right now?
Situation is very tough because after 24 of February, according to the United Nations agencies, about 18 million Ukrainians fled from Ukraine to the European countries, to some other countries. But at the same time, I think after July 2022, Ukrainians started to get back to Ukraine. So it's not proper to call them refugees. We call them displaced persons.
Yes.
What is the real number now? It's difficult to answer because when the winter has come to Ukraine, because of destroying by Russia energy system, it's very difficult to survive there, especially in bigger cities like Kyiv, Kherson, Mykolaiv.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Now let's get far away from that. I want to talk about Cambodia. So, what do you think about what Cambodia has done for Ukraine so far?
You know, we found in Cambodia a very good friend of us.
Yeah.
Since the beginning of the war, Cambodia supports us at the United Nations. He supports us, our territorial integrity and sovereignty. As you maybe know, in November, our Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Kuleba, met with His Excellency, Prime Minister of Cambodia, Hun Sen. And I love very much what Prime Minister said. Russia and Ukraine are our friends. But if we must choose between friendship and international law, we choose international law. Just amazing. So it's very important words for us. And besides that, besides this support at the United Nations, as you maybe know, Cambodia has started to train Ukrainians to demine Ukrainian territory. And just a few weeks ago, in Cambodia, 15 Ukrainians spent 2 weeks just to be trained.
Nice.
It's very great gesture of friendship.
And at the ASEAN level, I mean, you remember last year in November, Ukraine became the latest member of the TAC, the Trios Army TA Cooperation in Southeast Asia. So, what's your take on that?
For us, for Ukraine, it was a goal which we could try to reach since 2017. And very special moment was actually last November, when Cambodia was a chairman in ASEAN. So I fully understand that what happened during the time. We must say thank you to Cambodians as well, and to Cambodian government as well.
However, during the ASEAN summit, President Zelensky was not allowed to speak in the summit. So, how do you feel about that decision?
I think step by step we will reach our goal. Now we are trying to reach every country in this region, in some other regions, to explain what is really happening, what was the real reason of Mr. Putin of Russia to invade Ukraine. Because since the beginning of the war, we have heard a lot of fakes, lies from their side. For example, as you may remember, the first narratives they spread out why they invaded Ukraine was denazification and demilitarization. What is denazification of Ukraine? No one in Russia can explain. What does it mean? I don't understand that. The second one, demilitarization. As you remember, as I mentioned as well, today we didn't have a lot of support. No one supplied to Ukraine a lot of weapons before the war started.
Yes.
So what was the reason to invade?
Yeah.
For me, it's very clear, because Russia just wants to destroy my nation, to capture my land.
Yes. Thank you, sir. So you are going to be, you are soon to be the ambassador in Cambodia. So can you tell us about the process? When is it going to happen?
I do really hope that it will happen very soon, during nearest few months.
Yeah.
Because we are in process now. We are in touch with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation of Cambodia. Today we'll have some meeting as well with the officials, and
yes.
I'll be honored to serve Ukraine in this beautiful country, because it's my third time here, and I'm very glad I fell in love actually with Cambodia.
Yes. So supposing it's going to happen soon, so what's your plan? What's your first plan when it comes to dealing with a Cambodian-Ukrainian relationship?
My task as an ambassador is to develop our bilateral relations. Trade, science, culture, political relations. This is my goal. And I really believe that we will reach that goal, yes, together with our Cambodian counterparts.
Yes, thank you. I'm looking forward to having you here, of course. So last but not least, I would like you to look at the camera and say the thing that you have in your mind. First in English, and then again in Ukrainian.
Name?
Yeah?
What
you speak in your mind, yeah? First in English, and then Ukrainian, your language.
What should I say?
Just whatever in your mind, your message to our audience. First in English, and then in Ukrainian.
So I should say something to the audience in Ukraine?
Yes.
Я хотів побажати миролюбивому камбоджійському народу благополуччя, мирного неба над головою передусім.
In English, please?
I would like to wish to peaceful Cambodian friends a lot of happiness and all the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for spending time with us. It's our honor to have you here, and we wish you best of luck in everything. Thank you very much, sir.
I hope very soon I'll be back here as an ambassador of Ukraine to Cambodia, and to have a chance to talk once again.
Yes, that's what we have in mind. Yes, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, dear.
Thank you. That's all, folks. Thank you for spending time watching us. See you next week. Goodbye.